Hey, this is Mike in Peoria, and today we're going to talk about the best Apple laptop ever. Hey everybody, it's Mike in Peoria, and I'm coming to you today with another video on Apple computers. And today we're going to talk about, for me, the best laptop that I've ever owned from Apple. Now, talking about the best laptop is, doesn't necessarily mean the most powerful or the most portable to me. For example, today, if you were going out to buy an Apple laptop, you'd be deciding against, the ultra portability of the MacBook. I mean, it's super tiny. I mean, you can hold it easily with a couple of fingers. Very, very thin, lightweight, fabulous screen. Not super powerful, not super expandable. It's just got the one little USB-C port, but it's a great little laptop if what you need is portability. Now, if I were saying what's the best Apple laptop that you can buy today, it would certainly be the 15-inch MacBook Pro. And I've got one of those right here. It's a 2017 model, the Intel 7700K version. It's a 2.9 gigahertz. It's not the top of the line model, but it was the top of the line, that you could just go in and buy from the store without, ordering extras. Very powerful, fabulous screen, great trackpad. Can't say, anything more about it. It's a fabulous, powerful, most powerful laptop Apple has ever made. But in my book, it's not the best. Before I talk to you about the best, I'll make an analogy. It's a little bit like cars. I've owned actually a lot of cars in my almost 60 years. Some of the more recent ones have been highly refined, excellent cars. Powerful, reliable, fuel efficient, comfortable with all the electronic gadgets. I mean, you'd look at that and you'd have to say, that's the best car you've ever had, but not so. The best car I've ever owned was a 1967 Mustang. I mean, I was too young to drive a car when they came out. I bought one used when I was in high school. It was about 7, 8 years old at the time I got it, and it burned oil. It wasn't all that powerful, but it was a fabulous car. And for me, I can't ever imagine owning another car that I say is the best. Without a doubt, my 67 Mustang was the best car I've ever owned. The best laptop, best Apple laptop ever for me is the Titanium. Before I talk more about the Titanium, here's a look at the competition of the time between HP and IBM. These are, laptops of the period. They were black plastic, boxy, heavy, and had the small 4:3 aspect ratio. On the right, there's the Apple G3 laptop, the Pismo and Wall Street versions. It wasn't much different, in form factor and size than the competition at the time. This thing came out in 2001. It's not powered by an Intel processor like today's laptops. It's powered by a PowerPC. When it first came out, it was in a couple configurations, the 400 megahertz, not gigahertz, the 400 megahertz and the 500. They came out in early 2001, and I got this baby later in 2001. I was living in England at the time, and that fall I came back on a business trip, and I bought this. Apple had just recently dropped the price from $25.99 to $21.99, and I just couldn't wait to get this thing. I mean, there's no Apple computer, piece of technology, bar none, that I've ever anticipated as much as I did this computer. And that's because it was super cool. It was one of the first computers, laptops, that wasn't, black plastic square or close to a square. This thing was thin, it was made out of metal, it's titanium, relatively speaking lightweight, although it's certainly no match for the current MacBook. But for the time, it was lightweight. It had this very cool wide aspect ratio screen. It was one of the first computers, laptops, certainly the first Apple, and there were, to my knowledge, no other widescreen laptops out at the time. It had a screen resolution of 1152 by 768, and that gave it 1.5 wide to 1.0 tall, sometimes referred to as 9 by 6 resolution. And at the time, or aspect ratio, at the time most laptops were 4 by 3, which you can kind of think of as sort of old-time television aspect ratio. And where this was 1152 by 768, it had 128 more pixels width than the norm at the time, which was 1024 by 768. And that was cool. It was the aspect ratio that quite a bit of the widescreen TV was in. And so with the DVD-ROM that was in this thing, you could watch widescreen movies. Not the 235 by 2.35 by 1, but the 16 by 9 widescreen movies without black bars on the top or the sides. So it was a fabulous laptop. It had quite a bit of connectivity for its time. It has FireWire 400. It has an Ethernet port. It has 2 USB 1.1 ports. It has VGA out. It has S-Video out. It has a telephone plug-in. How many of you remember, dial-up modems? And you could certainly do that from here. And this little black dot on the end is an infrared port. That was a thing for a short while. I never used it, but it was there. And on the side, it had a PC card slot, compatible with Type 1 and Type 2. It had decent battery life, and it was great. Unfortunately, I can't get this one to start up. That'll be a project for another day. But I did buy another one. This is the 867 gigahertz model. It came out a year or so later. I bought this one in mid 2003. It had a more powerful processor by an order of magnitude. That was 400 megahertz. This was 867. This one had a 30 gigabyte hard drive. That had a 10 gigabyte hard drive. And this had 128 megs of memory. So it was a bit more capable. They also upped the resolution of the screen a little bit, and it moved up to, I can't remember off the top of my head, 1280 by 960. So the same exact aspect ratio, but a little higher pixel density and a little bit better color. I don't know how that's coming through on the video. But I love this laptop, and for me, it will always be the best laptop Apple ever made.